I think that's part of the challenge of navigating this kind of subterfuge in the industry, is that people themselves may not be aware of what really turns them on.
One thing I heard, you were approached to wear a dress on Cool Runnings.
Yeah, there's a scene in the movie where I wear a maid's hat. They wanted me to wear actually a maid's uniform, so the hat was a compromise. Yeah, and
we didn't see that on camera. We never got to see it, so I'm guessing you said no.
Of course, yeah. I said no. I said no, no way.
Was it the Jamaican in you? Was it the black man in you? Like, because some people do say yes to the dress. So like,
yeah.
What were you standing on?
I think I was standing on the history. I think there's a history there that is pretty well documented, and the rationale was absurd. See,
it didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense, and I think just generally speaking, if something doesn't make sense, you need to push back and at least say, okay, well, look, I'm not going to say no, but you explain to me more how this works, and then people will expose themselves. And I just think there was a craven desire to get me in that position, as opposed to there was an actual comic reason or whatever. Yeah. That's more important to me. Like, that's the whole thing with How to Be a Player. It's more important to me that you explain to me how it would work and how it will work for me than rejecting it on the basis of what it is. Like, explain to me. And sometimes the explanations, you like, oh, they're going to fuck it up. Even their intentions sound good, but they're going to fuck it up. People will expose to you, their competence or whatever it is.
Yeah, there was the conspiracy around the dress. Maybe you might be more well educated, well versed, but a lot of stand-up comedians have put on that dress.
Yes.
You mentioned Flip Wilson.
Yes.
It's just very interesting. Even Robin Harris had a dress on.
I didn't know that.
And that threw me off.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, he had a character. I can try to pull up maybe after and show you. In recent years, Kevin Hart did an interview, and he was like, no, I would turn down the dress.
Right.
And then you look up on SNL.
Right.
And he's in the dress.
And there's some cases it's completely egregious and upsetting. Like, God bless him, but when a random black actor on Saturday Night Live wears a dress, but they playing a woman. It's like, why can't y'all hire a black woman to parody a black woman? So you got a black dude playing Whoopi Goldberg or playing. It's layers on layers of wrong, in my view.
Because I really want to get to the bottom of this. Mm-hmm. What's the gag? Is this like some people in our comments have said this is the bucking, breaking of the buck.
Right.
Kind of like breaking you in.
Emasculation. Yeah.
If you say yes to this dress, then.
Right. I don't think that these things are conscious. I think that's part of the challenge of navigating this kind of subterfuge in the industry, is that people themselves may not be aware of what really turns them on, right? There's an industry full of secret appetites. So when you're dealing with somebody who's just like, just do it. I mean, it's like being in a room with a 10-year-old. But you think that because the person is an executive or this or that they're not a 10-year-old. And so how would you treat a 10-year-old that's telling you to do that? So that's how I look at it. Because looking for it to make sense is where a lot of people go left. It's like...
it's a big wormhole.
It's a wormhole. It's a rabbit hole. Yeah. Just like most things related to that industry and to our relationship vis-a-vis white America. It's very complicated.
That's a great way of looking at it, because, you try to connect these dots. And my more so viewpoint was that it did relate to maybe, breaking us down a bit. If you say yes to this, then, and maybe it was like a weird kink.
I do think that there's some grooming involved. I do think there's some grooming involved. There's grooming in the industry as a whole. People will always introduce things to you as a litmus test to see how far you'll go. That's the name of the game. So yeah, that's definitely going on. I just don't know if the primary goal is to break you down. I think that any person that's not under control in an industry so tightly controlled like that one is a problem. They got to do something. And that's the nature of industries. was like,
Do
you
you
look too free. Let's do something to you, you know?
do you think your career would have changed at all if you did the dress scene? Would it have been more about how you felt about yourself, or
I mean, I think there's so many things that would have changed if I would have made different decisions. But I'm glad, you know, that I didn't, because I think it would have changed. It might have changed in some ways that were financially beneficial, but I think I wouldn't have survived it from a spiritual point of view. No way.
you would have had that out there right now?
Right. I'd be loathing myself. Yeah. And also, yeah, rearing
And
and
how
raising
would you
kids.
have explained it to your children? And
That to me that's what I'm learning now. I'm learning now that, you know, I have an adult daughter. I have, you know, a son and this or that. I'm seeing, woof. And that's part of the reason why I'm so at peace, because I know I jumped over a hurdle when it comes to that stuff. I might have been not the funniest. I might not have been the best looking, but I'm about as free as a nigga could be.
there's that conversation about Hollywood picking one black comedian at a time and kind of like push them through. Do you feel that happened in your career? And in conclusion, why didn't we see, and I think you answered this earlier, but why didn't we see Dougie Doug star in Rush Hour and,
Right.
you know, all these big movies? Why didn't, you know, things go to another level for you in your hindsight now?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in personal power and personal responsibility. It didn't go there because I didn't want it to.
Is it more so like you feel free because you were able to kind of leave with your hands clean?
There's a number of reasons. I feel free because I was able to leave with my hands clean, but I was also able to leave with some money. Like that helps, you know, like, okay, look, you know.
You cashed out.
I can't, yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
sometimes if you
I didn't sit
gamble,
at the table like, let it roll, you know, I didn't do that, you know. And then maybe I'm just overly cautious, and that may be just
I
a
think you play
saving
it well,
grace.
man, because it's, you know, they be talking about a black man either dead or in jail. Hollywood, it seems like with us, you either you dead, lose it
Yeah.
all.
It's true.
You don't hear, hey.
But it's for reasons that, and I was talking to my mother about this, who doesn't even really completely understand what the fuck I'm talking about, like the average person. But it has a lot to do with the more you succeed in a certain way, the more you become estranged from things that are equally as valuable as money. And it's hard to survive like that, you know? And then your options in terms of people who you want to walk with you on this earth, they get real iffy. Because you see some of these cats, God bless them, that marry some of these people who are clearly not for them. For all these, you know, because it's almost like proximity, like, you know, she here and they there, and she look good or whatever. It's like, it's nothing like being, you know, a motherfucker that's just like relatively successful, moderately successful, maybe in ways people don't even understand. So you can navigate without being, you know, on the hit list. But once you're on the hit list, it's like people look at you as like, steak and eggs, you know, like, and that's not, it's not as fantastic as it looks like, you know. So you almost want to like succeed gradually, particularly if you're young. That instamatic sudden wealth syndrome shit, and just everything's coming at you, and
Firmly
everybody
agree with
thinks
that.
you're the most adorable motherfucker that ever existed.
For that season.
Yeah, for that 5 weeks. I mean, it's a fantastic 5 weeks, but Jesus Christ, it cannot be sustained and shouldn't be sustained. You know, it's like too much of a good thing will kill you. Like, enough, you know. How many orgies does a nigga need? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny when you see some of these cats with the orgies and shit, they be licking their lips and wearing tight shirts and walking around like, my dick is big, you know. And you know, you just kind of like, who got to you? You used to be normal. But they get people massaging the ego.
That's crazy.
They just
I be feeling
massaging, you know, just, and that's not healthy.
Not normal.
It's not normal. I mean, to the point where you're impervious to to a real comment that may not be flattering. You know, you fall, you wither when somebody tell you the truth about one, you know, man, nigga, that shirt too tight. What you mean, nigga? How much did it, you know how much this shirt cost me? More than your whole outfit. You know, people start getting defensive about shit that's just like.
It's not that deep. Patrice O'Neal had a reference to it. Being in the belly of the beast.
Yes.
Good to be in that belly.
He would know, because he had eyes wide open. That brother had eyes wide open. And sometimes when you're that unflinching in terms of reality, you know, it could really take you out. I remember talking to Ozzie Davis about another legendary comedian, Godfrey Cambridge. You might not know him, but you may. And I was asking him, like, what happened to Godfrey Cambridge? He said, the anger. The anger got him. You know, that's the way we as black men used to understand the dangers. You know, whatever you do, watch out for the anger, or watch out for the this, or watch out for the that. Because that's much more important than who has a private jet. That's much more important than whose woman is more fly than who. It's like you have to survive the success. So you don't just say no to counsel because you're at the top of the mountain. Like, that's when you really need real motherfuckers to come and counsel you. You know, people think the counsel is just to get up. The counsel is to stay up, and the counsel is to get out. You got people working at Goldman Sachs that the minute they get an offer, they got an exit strategy. The same thing is true for show business. How you gonna get out?
And no one thinks about that.
They don't think about it.
At least
very few people think about it, because getting out is such a horrible, as far as the public is concerned, getting out is such a horrible thing. Or you're washed up. You're this, because you have to face public scorn. Fuck public scorn. You know, when you're secure, you don't care about public
people
scorn.
Ever like criticize you or try to label you that? Like,
no, nobody ever did that.
Yeah.
I think because of the nature of what I did, I think still resonates. And I think people feel good about it. And I think that's what the average person, especially successive generations, if you're lucky to have a project that resonates over years and years and years, it's almost like you get fresh love. You know, you get to reboot your love, you know. And so I'm just been luxuriating in rebooted love for decades. And I'm grateful for it. I'm not taking it for granted. You know, I think it's a beautiful thing if it can happen to you.